This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, so I'm calling them with a quorum present. I am calling the January 14th, 2026 meeting of the Southampton School Committee to order. All right, first up, approval of minutes. They are in your packet.
I move that we approve the minutes of December 10th, 2025.
Second.
All right. Any discussion?
No.
I would just say,
Is Jen's name again?
no.
Okay.
On number 9, new business, adjournment.
Number 9,
Yeah, on page 3.
adjournment.
Under in favor, it should be all, not I.
Okay, yep. All right, so as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, off we go. Okay, public comment. Are you here for anything in particular?
Just wanted to hang out.
We saw the budget and we're just already thinking about what it's going to look like, but we don't see Dawn here, so. I don't know if
Yes,
she'll
we're
be
hoping
on.
she'll be on her, she's on her way. Okay, thanks. Warrants were done electronically. We have no announcements or correspondence. Eliza's principal's report is in the packet. She can't be here tonight. Does anybody have, how about this? If you have questions, please pass them along to Principal Pluta. Did you want to highlight anything from her report?
The only thing I really wanted to recognize was the retirement of Susan Hale. 25 years at Norris, an amazing career, and has really had great positive effect on students in her role. And so we really wish her well, and are happy that she's able to move forward and with retirement.
Yeah. She'll be missed. Okay. Superintendent's report is also in the packet. Vito, is there anything you would like to highlight?
The superintendent's report, I really wanted to add this. I know it's more a secondary thing, but there's been a communication from the superintendent of Smith Voc to those communities who have the highest enrollment from outside of Northampton. And they're talking about regionalization. And so the communication included superintendents, but it is actually going to the town because it's really a town decision discussion. And there's some consultants from the regional, the Massachusetts Regional School support system, and they are facilitating this look at regionalization. And Southampton sends some of the most students. One of the things they talked about is if Southampton, for example, were to agree and be a part of regionalization, then they would have a seat at the table, with, if you will, with respect to school committee. So they would be part of the decision-making process. And they would have guaranteed seats. Currently, the only school that has guaranteed seats in Smith Voc is Northampton, sorry. And there's also the discussion of expansion or refurbishment of some of the facilities there. So it would really be just like with Hampshire, an assessment capital would be part of it. So there really needs to be some understanding of the implications for the town for regionalization. And as we move forward and as we get more information, I will share with you what I learn. There are 2 links that are live that I put there for you to take a look at, just so you're not unaware of what's going on there. The other part of my report was really focused on graduation requirements. The state has taken the opportunity, if you will, to review graduation requirements across the Commonwealth. Of course, the proposition question took MCAS out of the equation, and so they want to think about what could go back into the equation. And so they've done some surveys, some listening sessions, and we should get more information. Again, there are more resources than you probably want to look at, but they are in my report in the folder, and they're live links if you are curious.
Thank you. Any questions for Vito?
So it's not considered a regional school as it is now?
Correct, it's not regional.
So it's just like school choice kind of thing, like when we put our kids, I know it's a lottery, whatever, but.
Now it's a lottery, and that might entice communities
Right.
to be a part of the regional as they envision it. But it's not.
Like, do we just pay them like a school
Tuition.
choice? Oh, it's tuition.
It's a tuition, yeah.
And it's not
School-
the $5,000.
It's not
that we pay for
$5,000.
school.
Okay, no, that's what
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, trying to understand like the potential benefit, like cost-wise, like if you're being part of the regionalization system versus paying, you know what I mean? I just didn't realize how it was run now. versus how
I
they wanna
truly
change
think
it.
the benefit is really for the students.
Right. Right, guaranteed spots is a
The
definite.
challenge is for the communities
Right.
to participate in regionalization. There are some benefits with respect to voice on the school committee and allotted seats, et cetera. But it's the cost, we didn't get into
Right, that
any
part.
depth around what the cost is going to be.
Just to follow up on that, any depth, is there any inclination or any idea about the impact on the cost of the town were they to regionalize?
No, that's what yeah.
No, I said, you said detail, I just wasn't sure if there was a general conversation or if it was just.
It was really a high-level general conversation, and it was really a, hey, FYI, superintendents, we're bringing this to the towns. We want you to be aware of it, and it's really up to the towns to make decisions.
How long do they expect the process to be?
They're in the first meeting,
Right.
and they expect it to go on for the course of the next year, and then they have to make some decisions on what they want to do. They feel pressing urgency because of the facilities and the programs, and they want to improve the product that they're offering, but they can't afford to do it in isolation.
Is that something that is approved at the school level or the town level?
Regionalization, the
Regionalization
town.
for Smith Voc. So for Hampshire Regional, does each one of our towns have to then vote in order to achieve that for Hampshire Regional? So this is a multi-year process.
I imagine it would be, but just to simplify a little bit, they really are only going to the sending towns that have the highest enrollment. So Southampton has a higher enrollment, and they were contacted, whereas Goshen doesn't,
Okay,
and so they weren't.
They're not invited
or they
to be
weren't
part of
going to be.
regionalization.
That's right.
got it.
So,
Okay.
as a superintendent of the 5 towns, I was like, well, I feel a responsibility to each of the towns to make sure they're aware.
That makes more sense to me. Okay, thank you.
The regionalization would just be for Smith. It could potentially impact Hampshire Regional enrollment, but it wouldn't impact, Hampshire Regional is still Hampshire Regional, and Smith is
Correct.
still be its own.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for Vito? Okay, there's no chair's report. Hampshire Regional School Committee.
Our school committee was last week. Was that just last week?
Sure.
Yeah.
And so the beginning of it was, a few of you were there, the central office budget presentation, which, though I thought your presentation was very clear about, or Dawn's presentation about like, the forensic part is minus this much and whatever, so then the total budget only increased or whatever the final number was. Like, that slide, I don't know why people were complaining and saying it was misleading, because it was very understandable. But anyway, so the beginning was the whole budget, which I can say what they came up with as the bottom, right here. So it only came down to with 70% reduction in forensic expenses, 100% reduction in curriculum materials. There's the benefit increase, tech services increase. It only ends up to be a 6% overall, a 6% overall reduction in central office costs.
Right, so,
upcoming year.
so I forget, what is, so I wanted to say what Southampton's, so Norris's
Yes, but-
contribution will,
But there was that, you might have left when we got to that part of it, because there was a whole slew of things that people were questioning when coming into what the numbers were to divide out the amounts.
Allocation,
The
the
allocation
assessment.
amount.
And so what we found, and what was identified for us during the presentation, was that there was a errant 42. And no one knows where it came from, but it was in the, a spot that really had impact. And so it was absolutely needed to be identified. And so what Dawn's doing is making sure that the numbers that were errant are pulled, and then she's going to rerun it, and she's going to share it with the same people that we invited. So everybody that was there, from town administrators to select boards,
Yeah.
FinComs, et cetera, are going to receive the same information on that, or actually it's 2 slides, because 2 slides share some of the numbers.
but do we still think that it will still show a reduction, whatever it is, to the Norris contribution to central office?
I would have to say yes, because the budget itself went down.
Well, yeah, the budget is going down for sure.
Okay.
But I think because of the numbers, the way it was affecting Hampshire more than it should have.
Yes, okay,
So there will be an impact, there's no doubt about it.
right.
But with respect to central office, it is a lowering of 6%. One of the things that we were charged with, especially moving into FY '27, was reducing those forensic costs. And I applaud Dawn for what she's doing and how she's doing it. And she indeed was able to let some of those costs go, 70% of those costs. And the important thing for me that I just want to keep reminding everybody is that we know that we inherited some challenges. We were given a 3-year contract because we had to fix things, and it was going to take longer than a year. We're in a year and a half. We've dropped those forensics by 70%. By the 3rd year, the end of 28, FY '28, we hope that we're going to be zeroed out on those. And as we have since we started, we're going to be transparent, and we're going to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I anticipate Dawn's going to come tonight. There is some good to share. There's some bad to share. There's a little ugly to share. But the reality of the situation is the central office is working hard. I think that presentation shared real specificity around what they're doing and the benefit of the work that Amy Drake is doing as Director of People Services, and Michael Fredette as the Assistant Superintendent, Dawn in her role as the Business Administrator, and
Brian as the
Brian.
IT director.
and Brian Gilman as the IT Director.
His presentation was amazing.
Oh, he's a rock
I didn't
star.
even know he existed.
Yeah, he's a rock star. That really, and I tell you, one of the first things I heard when I started was, well, there's a couple different things, but one of the first things I heard was about technology and the need to really change the direction we were going. And that was kind of the focus of our work last year. And then, we heard some other things about outdated governance agreements and things that we have to work on. We're doing all those things. They're all happening on parallel tracks, but it's a lot. And I'm proud of the work that the team has done. I'm proud of the people that I work with, and I'm glad that last August and July I was able to find them. And I still got them, so that's a good thing. We've lost some people, like we have a new payroll person, and we lost a assistant business administrator, but our new person that we're hiring is starting next week. She has experience in municipals and schools. So it's really I know Dawn's hanging on by her fingernails, but next week, we're gonna get someone that has experience that we need. And with the accountant and financial analyst that we have, I'm very, very excited to move the work forward.
Yeah.
They have a lot of work to do on problems that they inherited,
Yeah,
but they're gonna do it, because they've already done a lot, and they're gonna just have to keep moving, but they're human beings, and they can only do so much at once.
I found this, so like they said, these are just the preliminary allocations to each school. So the preliminary allocations are, for us, for Southampton, is down 7.8%.
Those may change a little when Dawn
Right,
reworks
because
it,
of those
but we're
numbers,
still
yeah.
looking at become a little bit less going to central office,
it's a good thing.
which is, I mean, given the budget situation in Southampton, is helpful,
It's a good thing.
yeah.
Right.
So is there anything else from Hampshire Regional that you want to share, Jen?
Oh, and we had Dan Abraham's son.
That's correct.
Yes. He came and was talking about grants that Southampton is a part of.
Dan was hired as the energy manager. It was a consortium, if you will, Westhampton, Southampton, and Williamsburg. And what Dan is doing, he's got a 3-year grant-funded contract, and it's fully funded. And he's doing energy assessments of school buildings and municipal buildings in an effort to improve efficiency, identify grants that could help us move our systems, like the building.
He talked about the roof units.
Yeah. I mean, the hardware is one thing,
Yes.
but it's also
Oh,
the
the
building
system,
management
yes,
systems
yes.
that are ineffective, is probably the best way to look at it. And his goal is to really increase efficiencies and improve hardware and software so that we're more efficient in our energy use.
Yeah. And I do remember Eliza saying something about it, how he's coming toward, I think, Norris too.
Oh, yeah, he's.
So we just heard from him and what his thoughts and the grants that he wanted to try to apply for, and just in the future, his ask from us, maybe eventually if he finds stuff from Norris, like to write in support of these things, because some of the grants are extremely competitive, so
That's correct.
that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Jen? All right. I was not fit to go to PTO last night, so I don't have a PTO report for you. School council.
Yeah, so we met yesterday, and we spent part of it looking at online literacy survey that Mr. Hodgson did, 6th grade teacher, with his students, asking questions about how much screen time do they have, and what social media are they on, and do they have limits on their screen time, and are they asked to shut off their phones at night, and just to gauge how much our eternally online children are really eternally online, and they are. with probably fewer limits than some of us in the room expected on their nighttime phone use. And like 95% of them have some kind of a smart device. This was all part of our discussion about the cell phone policy too, and how we deal with smartwatches and things like that are internet enabled. And so kids are taking pictures, they're texting each other on their phones, they're doing their watches. So we were kind of, debating how to deal with that. Much less use of social media, except for YouTube. There was a lot of use of YouTube. Some of our kids have their own accounts, but they're not on Snapchat. Snapchat was big a year ago, but not as big now. And this particular 6th grade class is less online than last year's 6th grade class. So you kind of never know the dynamics in a certain grade.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting. And then we started going through the school improvement plan, which is our primary function as a school council, is to look at the school improvement plan and make changes, adjustments. And so we just started on, a couple of the goals, and we're talking through them. And, do we want to rename them? Do we want to have brand new ones? How's open court going? Stuff like that. That was it. Yeah.
Any questions for Margaret? Okay, thanks. Dylan?
The hunt for a new executive director is ongoing. They're actually interviewing finalists tonight. And the next regularly scheduled meeting is on the 28th. So I'll provide a more robust update at our next meeting.
Okay, thanks. And our select board liaison isn't here, and I don't have anything from the select board. So here's what I'd like to do. I want to take things out of order right now in the hopes that Dawn is going to be able to get
She
here.
texted me, she left at 6:12.
Okay, so
So
she should be
she's
here. All
rolling.
right, so why don't we go to the wellness policy?
That's good.
So this is,
We're moving.
right, so this one, the nurse leader went through and took out all references to middle and high school and made this the Southampton school wellness policy, because middle and high school, we all agreed, it has nothing to do with us. And this is, so we're not calling it a 5 districts wellness policy, it's a Southampton policy. The only question that we had from the last time is on page 3 of the policy. At the top, it says, "The district will provide nutrition education to all elementary school students and will be taught as part of a sequential, interdisciplinary, standards-based program. Nutrition education will be designed to provide learners with the knowledge and skills necessary to promote and protect their health." Jen, you followed up on that.
I did, and now I forgot my computer. Let me check my email. I don't feel like, yes, Vito asked the question, but I don't know that the answer.
I think the answer was something along the lines of, it's up to the principal to be sure it happens, kind of thing. Which, I mean, and I seem to recall, and Jillian and Margaret, go in the Wayback Machine with me for a minute. Didn't we?
Oh, yeah, ultimately the
with
principal is
the
responsible.
prior assistant superintendent, wasn't that person looking into health curriculum?
Yes.
But nothing ever happened with that, is that
It did not.
accurate? Okay. So I don't know, there could be something hiding in the assistant superintendent's office with information about potential curriculum. Not that I think we have the money to buy anything, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to be sure, like.
No, that was absolutely
was
one of
supposedly
the
happening
many things on the
on the-
docket, yeah.
That didn't happen. Okay. All right, so you don't feel like it was an adequate answer, or?
I just don't think that it wasn't an adequate answer. Like, if that's the intention of this, then I guess that's fine. But I think Aliza needs to know that the intention is that now she needs to figure out how to provide nutrition education to all the students that will be taught sequentially, interdisciplinary, and standard-based.
Right.
And so if she's not equipped to do that, then I feel like we shouldn't put it in there.
Problem
Is that it needs to be in there.
is that it needs to be in there because we've whittled this
Right.
down to the required elements of a wellness policy.
Right, so I don't know. Thoughts?
Vito, do you have?
Yeah, I do actually. I think, and you know, just my experience in West Springfield is that we went through this process too. You know, we were kind of a few years ahead with respect to working with the state, with respect to having a liaison that worked with our wellness committee. It's easier when you have one wellness committee and one school committee. Just for example, there are school committees right now in our 5 districts that are second read on the MASC wellness policy, which is not the direction our wellness committee went. Okay? So Southampton's wellness policy could very well be different than Westhampton's wellness policy. That's okay. We're 2 separate districts. We have 2 separate school committees. That's fine. That being said, the priority that Michael had was not health
Right.
curricula.
Right.
However, with this policy going into place, that would be something he would put on his to-do list. And I would suggest that it might not be as important as a math curriculum or an English curriculum, social studies curriculum, because those are tested subjects. It is important that our students are aware of and instructed in nutrition. Absolutely. So I think it would be all right to leave it, but it's something that we have to work on as a central office with respect to our assistant superintendent.
Right, well, because I mean, the options are, don't pass a wellness policy, except, we're required to have a wellness policy.
We have to
Take
have it, yep.
Take this piece out, but except we're required to have this piece in. So I mean, it doesn't seem, the only option we seem to have is to pass a policy, even though we know that there's a piece of it that we still have to do some work on. But it's not nearly as aspirational.
No, as the first draft.
Yes.
No. Yeah.
100%.
That's really, I think, the only part of it that is aspirational.
And I would suggest this too, is that the state has done a really good job of identifying in what they call the curate curricula that are research-based and are relatively inexpensive. There are some common source curricula out there that we might be able to get, but I think with the support and the resources from the state, I think we'd be able to get it done in a reasonable amount of time. And really, there's not going to be a wellness police coming to spank us. It's really about us fulfilling our obligation to our students around nutrition education.
Right.
So is there any, do we want to take any action on this tonight?
I move that we approve wellness policy
It doesn't have a letter.
that doesn't have any letters or numbers after it.
All right, Dylan made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hey, that sounded unanimous. So opposed? No? All right, good. All right, so it's approved. Vito,
Yes.
could you please
Yes.
tell, no, never mind. I'll email Jess myself.
We need to add the approved on the
Exactly.
bottom,
I'm going
yeah.
to add the, I'm going to add the dates of our readings onto the bottom of it and the approval stuff. And then when I get that done, I'll send it to Jess so she can get it posted on the district website.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, la-di-da, did I hear a door, maybe?
ETA 628.
So she should,
It's pretty close to
All
628.
right.
yeah.
I expect her smiling face to be coming through that door anytime.
No, we actually don't have, John's not here. So the only thing that I needed, we needed something from him. So with John not here, we're not going to have the executive session tonight. Vito, is there anything you want to start with on the budget stuff?
Well, I guess just to maybe expand on what I was saying before is the challenges that are faced at the central office by the legacy of what was left behind and the fact that those issues that may have started 3, 4, 5 years ago because of either inaction or it's not malfeasance, it's really inexperience, it's really not having the skill in accounting that we need to do what was necessary to fix and clean things up, have compounded those problems. So really what happened was the scope and the pervasiveness of the issues became really untenable to those who were here. And when we started peeling the onion back, and the deeper we got in that onion, the more things we found. And if you look at accounting in the books, when a mistake is made here, there could be 4 other places where there's mistakes that have to be identified, then cleaned up. And so much of the forensic work for this year and a half has been, what's wrong? Oh yeah, that's me. I get it. You know, I am Italian, so it's not just my hands, it's my feet. So much of the forensic work went into identifying those things, making sure that all 4 of those other underlying things were fixed. But it's also about grants. It's about closing out grants. It's about ensuring that grants that were written were actually used for the purpose that they were written. And many of those grants are 27 months, right? So they go back. We had our forensic person, Carrie Sheehan, who I worked with in West Springfield. He came in and he was obligated to look back at grants from 2017. And as we move forward, we would start cleaning things up in there, but it was still affecting the years because of the 27-month issue. The other piece that is challenging is that audits weren't completed. So the 23 audit was just completed. Now, my favorite business administrator is is being asked questions about 24 and 25 and providing information while she focuses on end-of-year reports, budgets, negotiations, all those things that we have to do. I liken it to an anchor. We have an anchor tied around our neck, and we're trying to facilitate the current year while also project a budget into the coming year. And so that challenge is difficult, to say the least.
Hold on to staff.
And trying to hold on to staff, and trying to keep our equanimity, and trying not to rip our hair out.
Oh, keep the equanimity.
So Dawn, I was just setting the table for you.
We have not had any kind of, Vito gave us some good background
Okay.
on the challenges that have been faced, but there's no current information has been discussed so far.
Okay. Are we live?
Oh, we're live, sister.
All right. I'd like to update everyone on the central office activity and start with the positives. So our assistant business administrator is starting next week. Well, we have a holiday on Monday. I've already called her and asked her if she can come in. So she's agreed to come in so we can keep marching forward on the myriad converging priorities. So she will be here on Monday, and I will, and we'll keep on marching. And then our accountant, who started almost a month ago, not quite, is coming up to speed. Learning all the school components is complicated and it is going to take a while, but we're making progress there. Third, we're collaborating with the town accountant to clean up the ledgers and to reconcile the central office books to the town's books for FY25. While I'd like to do a final review, we are reconciled on the general fund, which is the major account where most of the school's expenses are recorded. So all of the AP warrants that you sign get charged to the general fund for the most part. And then the payroll, for the most part, gets charged to the general fund. But there are grants and revolving funds, also known as special revenue funds, that need to be reconciled, and we're not in agreement on those at this particular point. And that can be a laborious process when your books don't match. So we are working on that right now. And for example, a number of the grants require drawdowns that the central office does on the platforms where the grants are issued. So there are different platforms. And that, once we do the drawdowns, on some of the money, the federal funds are sent directly to the town. So the town has to pick that up. They have to know where it is. They have to record it properly. They might record it in the wrong account. They might record it into the general fund where it needs to actually be in one of the grant accounts. So that's what we're in the process of doing. Once we get that done, then we can move forward with the end-of-year reports, which I'll talk more about in a minute. But what I want to say about the whole reconciliation process is that, we've made, in collaborating, we've made some strides in some particular areas, ensuring that the town has grants that are segregated according to DESI requirements. For example, SPED 240 and 262, which are grants that you're familiar with from signing the warrants and such. For a long time, I'm going to say prior to COVID, they were issued as under a different number. And the Southampton, I don't know if the communication between the central office and Southampton during that time was spotty. I think communication during the pandemic was spotty everywhere, but the necessary accounts for SPED 240, 262, 274 never got set up. So all of the funds that went in and all the expenses that came out of another account. And so it's taking a while to figure that all out and unwind that. I give you that as an example. But as I said, now the town understands that certain grants by DESI requirement have to be segregated, and that the central office has also created a document that we've prepared for the accountant that clearly outlines where the funds should be charged. They didn't have that before in any comprehensive way, so I think there have been changes on both sides, and that collaboration is moving forward, and I think that's good.
Yeah, it's excellent, and I tell you, the work that Bradley and Dawn are doing to work together to get this done is a yeoman's task, and they're doing a great job. One thing that complicates this that wasn't mentioned, but that's important, is in the past, there was a consortium approach to grant funding. And so all 5 districts were a consortium in the system, in the platform for the state.
All that commingled.
All of it. And so part of the challenge was making sure that Southampton got their 240 and Westhampton and Williamsburg, et cetera, et cetera. So I can see how things went off the rails a little bit.
Yeah.
So last year, last year was our first year, so we just did what was done before to keep things consistent. But as we learned what was going on, this year we're no longer doing the consortium approach. We've changed it. Michael Fredette is overseeing the grant writing and the revisions that come along with it, and each grant is focused on the municipal that it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that was big for us. That was we took our lumps with that one. We took a couple shots and we learned that, oh no, we can't keep doing this because it's too confusing.
Yeah.
You can't keep your hands on it.
Right.
So I think that's a helpful piece for us.
Yes, and DESI agreed with us that we could change that methodology from that consortium-based to the individual. The thing, just to add to that, the thing on the consortium is that the central office still does the drawdowns. Basically, they're all reimbursement grants.
Right.
So we have to spend the money, record the money in the correct spots, in the correct schools, and then apply for the money. That's what they call drawdowns. So once we do the drawdowns, then when it's a consortium, it all comes into Hampshire Regional via an ACH transfer, and then we write a check to each of the schools in order for their books to resolve any expenses that have already been recorded on those books. And so if the check wasn't received and booked to the right account, and we've spent money out of that account, you could be in a deficit position. And that's what Bradley and I are seeing. Now, I say Bradley and I because I'm working with Bradley, but that's the accountant's job to work with Bradley, but she is not up to speed right now and can't do that.
Right.
And the person we had started the process, but when he left in November, it's been kind of a vacuum, and I'm doing my best to keep up with that. So there are reasons why we may be out of balance, and we have to find them and reconcile those. But Bradley and I have exchanged information, and we're continuing to do so. I'm going to give you one other example, not to alarm anybody, but just to say, in our spirit of full disclosure, REAP. REAP is a grant. I forgot what it even stands for. Rural Aid.
Rural Education.
Rural Education something. Yeah, but it's different from Rural Aid.
Right.
It's federal.
It's federal. And so what happens is the central office does the drawdowns. And so Southampton got allocated about $56,000 in an FY23 grant. Just to complicate things further, the feds are in a different fiscal year than we are, so you have so many months to keep track of it all and to spend it all. So we had until September of 25 to spend all of that. And in March, we said, we've spent it. We're going to draw it down. We drew it down in 2 lumps, 2 tranches, or whatever they call it. And what ended up happening is that money goes from the feds directly into the Southampton bank account, based on what has been established in terms of the bank account numbers and all of that. So when Bradley and I are trying to reconcile, I said, Bradley, you're showing a deficit in this particular account, and I know we don't have a deficit. We had this amount coming in, this is how much we spent. And so I spent quite a bit of time today calling the federal government And the good thing is our contact at the, I forgot what's federal DESE called, but the Department of Education is still got a job. So I could talk to somebody. And so then he referred me to another place, and that's a place I'm checking. But the point is, that money has to show up, and I have to track that down. I've spoken to the Treasury Department in Southampton, I've spoken to the accountant, they don't see it. So
They don't see that it ever came in?
they don't see that it ever came in.
Where it was
Well,
before?
both of those things. The interim treasurer wasn't there today, so I spoke to somebody in that department, and she said perhaps Megan would have a better sense for where else to look. But so far, that's an example of something where we say, based on all of the information we have and the documentation, that things are fine, but Bradley has a deficit. If that deficit were to continue, it would have to be paid out of free cash, because the DOR doesn't allow you to have deficits in some of these funds. So anyway, that's just a little bit more into the weeds, but giving you an example for what you have to do to reconcile.
And so those are just examples, those are not the only things you have to reconcile.
That's correct.
There's a whole bunch more.
Yeah, we have probably 10 to 15 grants, and that's one of them that's out of whack at the moment. So this whole reconciliation process, I want to say, is a fairly standard process, but one that needs some tweaking as we move forward. So there may have been a few years post-COVID when the annual reconciliation was not done. So when I got here last year, we did that reconciliation, and it was done to the best of our ability, still had some deficits that we thought would resolve, and we're tracking those down. But the basic thing that I want to say there is I've spoken with Bradley, and we shouldn't be doing it on an annual basis, we should be doing it quarterly. So if we had done the reconciliation quarterly way back when, in '23, when they got that money, we would have been able to catch it perhaps sooner and resolve it sooner. So that's going through this process. The good news is that we're seeing some tweaks that we need to make, and we've agreed on what they are so far. So doing the quarterly reconciliations, I think, will be good. Now, in terms of the end-of-year reports themselves, none of the 5 schools have been submitted to date. It's not because we haven't taken action or been working on it, but much must be done in order to reconcile the 25 numbers, which I just reviewed. And once those numbers are copacetic, once they are stable and we've reconciled, then we have to complete the report. It's not a narrative, but an Excel workbook of many schedules that capture financial information, and it slices and dices the way you've spent your money different ways so that the state can do certain metrics, and so that they can do certain reimbursements, and so that they can track certain things. And consistent with the letter that went out to the school committees and to all town accountants, except for in Southampton, it went to the town administrator, the state did follow through on their prerogative, which is to withhold Chapter 70 aid if your report isn't in by the deadline. So they did withhold aid in December, and they will withhold it in January. What I would say is, and I think Vito shares this, that it's really unfortunate that of all the years that these reports have been late, they chose to withhold aid this year. Because we've been communicating with them, they know we're working hard, but...
If I could piggyback, Don,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You know, it's not just communicating with them. We've met with Associate Commissioner Sullivan and his team every month since we started. We identified in a document that Don created and received compliments on from Jay and his team that identified all the things we have to fix. And so he is, and they are, intimately aware of what has to happen. And so we were hopeful that he would give us some grace and allow us to get back on track. But he said, this is what I'm gonna have to do. And we said, well, then you do what you have to do. We're gonna continue to work. We're gonna continue to do what we have to do to get these things reconciled and then get those reports done as we're doing the audits, et cetera, so.
So can I ask, what are the ramifications short-term of that delay in funding? Because it's not going away permanently, it's a
Right.
delay.
So
right?
let me answer that and just finish my thought here, just because I gotta, I might lose my train of thought. So what I was gonna say, to piggyback on what Vito just said, is I think, to be fair to the Associate Commissioner, I think that he is desperate, like so many people, and the towns and the townspeople and the school committees, desperate for homeostasis within our districts. And given the extent of the problems, it's just going to take more than 15 months that I've been here and that Vito's been here to establish a stable, balanced internal environment that can adjust fluidly in with the numerous priorities and with the changing priorities. So I can appreciate that he's sort of at the end of his rope, and I think many people are. So I understand that. And further, I would go on to say that with the many things I've been working on, I did not call each accountant or treasurer or town administrator to reinforce what was discussed in the letter, and I really, upon reflection, believe I should have done that. That I think was an oversight, and one that surprises even me, given my loquacious nature. However, it's not a joke, because it is a substantive, implication. And I just really hope that it doesn't undermine the good work that's being done in our office and the improvements we're making and the collaborations that we're forging. But to answer your question, Margaret, in terms of the implications, it is not you're never going to get this aid, but they are going to withhold aid. And so it's a cash flow issue. And that's why I think it was incumbent upon me to really talk with the treasurer and the accountants to let them know, especially since I don't know if one of them actually saw it. I haven't heard from everybody yet, and I haven't reached out to everybody yet. But they may not have understood the implications either. I mean, they probably did, but so this would be the first time that aid was withheld based on those reports. Although,
as far as we know. I mean, I don't know in the past if it's ever happened.
I don't know.
Not to my understanding, as a result of the end-of-year reports.
Right.
It isn't, however, the first time that Southampton has had their aid withheld for not having things done. So when your Schedule A, which is what you have to do on an annual basis, isn't submitted, they can withhold aid, the DOR, the state, and they have done that in the past. But this is a significant amount. It's, I have that written down here. It is, let's see, over 200,000 every month. So.
Well, while you're looking for that,
Yeah.
I think what's important to know too is that we have another meeting with Associate Commissioner Sullivan on February 4th. My fervent hope is that we can get some of the information that they need to them, and that I can kind of have a really frank conversation and communicate with Associate Commissioner and let him know the effect that the withholding's having. Since we started, it's always been, Dawn, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we've been honest with Jay and his team, and we've been honest with you. And I'm hopeful that if we get some of the reports done in a timely manner, within the next month, then we will be off the hook and moving forward.
Yeah. And Vito, I believe you have some optimism that he will restore the aid for February.
I do. I am an optimistic kind of person.
Yes.
And I know that Associate Commissioner is a reasonable man. I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
No guarantees.
Right. And I expect that it will be restored in March. because all of our reports will be in by then, we are really shooting to try to have as many as possible in February, but that's just 2 weeks away, and maybe 4 weeks away from the time when they would need to know in order to restore aid. But I'm hoping that that conversation will be positive, and
You'll be there.
and we'll see, yeah. So, yes, Jen?
When they restore the aid, do they restore it fully?
Yes.
Like, so if we miss out on $600,000, come March, it'll be $800,000 that we get?
Yeah, they'll restore it fully.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
There's no penalty.
right. No, it's not a penalty. It's just a way to get your attention if you're not
No,
doing the
100%.
report, if you're just sort of sloughing it off, but it isn't anything that we've been sloughing off.
Right.
But nonetheless, it was their prerogative, they exercised it, and we have to be in a position to get these reports in. And I guess I want to assure everyone, and right now I'm talking with you, that it isn't like Southampton wasn't singled out in our not completing it. Everybody's report was not done. And when we spoke to the associate commissioner about it, he said, I'm giving you some instruction, and that is, I want the regionals submitted to me first. The reason I want the regionals submitted first is because it is only regional transportation that is reimbursed. And so they use the information on that report to establish the reimbursements for the next year. So as it turns out, I've started with Chesterfield Goshen, and actually thought that should be in by now. I don't know if you want the details.
I don't think we need them.
You don't need them, but there's some, there are some metrics that if you don't reach them, you will not get SPED 240 the next year. So I can't turn in a report that doesn't meet that metric. So not for Southampton, but this is a metric for all the schools. In the first school that I did, if I were to adjust 24 or 23, which I think were not done correctly, I have to go back several years. So it's not just filling in a number.
Right.
It's analyzing it and making sure that you're not going to jeopardize the funds that you're going to get the next year. So that's that. And then I guess if I have an ask for the school committee, I really need to lighten up on the pressure that is on the new accountant and others in the central office. I know we haven't met certain things in this that we're talking about, but I will be looking to refill those positions. We've already had several people leave. The work is daunting and it's overwhelming for a new person. It really, really is. And in my zeal to get things done, I'm really hard driving. And I have to, today it became obvious to me that I have to be able to let up on the gas a little bit at times. And when I say let up a little bit, I mean instead of working every weekend or late into the night, there's some reasonable expectations. So what I want to say is if people leave, it's going to be a real setback for all of us. And we need to work together to establish realistic deadlines for all and ask your help in establishing realistic expectations and positive communications so we continue to move forward in a positive way, because that really is what we're all trying to do. Those are my remarks. That's all that I really wanted to say and report on. Typically, in the past few months, I've been providing the monthly expenditure reports, which are essential for you to see. Due to some technical details
Yeah, I
today,
talked
did you
about that.
talk about that? I can't do that, but I will provide them electronically. And if you have questions, please feel free to just ask when you see those. So,
And
any
we're
other?
thinking Friday for those? or-
That's what we're working towards, is to get them in on Friday.
That's what I said.
Okay.
So, can I ask another question about the assistant commissioner,
Yes,
Friend Jay Sullivan?
associate.
Associate, yes. Looking at your crystal ball, is this an indication that they are losing patience
Oh, yes,
with us?
I think so.
And do you expect that to carry forward into other things or not?
He's acknowledged that, he goes, I know that you weren't here. And these problems happened before. He goes, but at some point, we have to draw the line.
Okay.
And so I appreciate him being really honest, and though it, we took one on the chin in that one, and he drew the line this year.
Because he's given us a lot of rope over the past.
Absolutely.
I wish he'd given us a little more rope, but that's okay, because I think there's a couple things. I mean, to be fair to him, when I was doing the end-of-year report for CG, I told you that there was one little snafu, but I found another one. And I called him as soon as I found it, and I said, this is a major issue, and we are going to have to go back and amend the previous year's reports. And suffice it to say that the issue was all around transportation. And I told you the 2 regional schools get transportation, so reimbursed up to a certain amount. And you have to record that transportation in a certain bucket, as I say. You have to record it in a certain account. And it wasn't, it was recorded in a grant account purposefully. There was an affirmative decision made to record it there. But when you record it there, if it's a federal grant, or no, if it's a state grant, they're not going to reimburse that portion because they already gave you the grant. So I told him that was an error, and could we, do we have any grace? Do we have anything that we can do? And he said, you can go back and you can amend that report, and we will restore those funds to you. So he's not always unreasonable.
No.
I also think he is retiring in, I believe it's February. And I think he wants things to be done, before he goes. And so I said to him, Jay, what about the fact that you're going to be retiring? I want to make sure that money gets restored. And he said, well, they're going to have me back to finish this up. So I think there's lots of different things going on. He's trying to be fair to everyone.
He is.
It's just that it's not, I understand he can't exonerate us year after year from the requirements and from their prerogatives.
Associate Commissioner been named?
No.
It can't be until the previous retires.
Oh, well, it'd be great if it was Michelle or Christine, because I know what's going on.
Well, and they've restructured too. Commissioner Martinez is restructuring DESI.
Okay.
And so they're making some changes. So there's a lot of positions open, and there's some retirements, so he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah.
But I have to say, in the meetings with Jay, he's stern, he's fair, he's honest, and
Yeah, it just landed on the wrong side of
it's
the,
it's
for us
unfortunate.
this time, and it impacts every town.
Yeah.
So it's really tough, and I feel terrible about it. But as I told Jay before, I understand there's the carrot, and I understand there's the stick, and either one of those isn't going to change the pace,
Yeah.
because it takes this much time to get it done. And unfortunately, I stick to that.
Yep.
And we've pulled out all the stops. There's not many more stops I can pull out, and there's not any more stops I'm willing to pull out, to say that.
Yeah, I would also, I applaud you for setting some limits, or your intention to set some limits, because I think you need to,
Yes.
for everyone's health and
Yes.
well-being, because, we can't function without a functioning central office and a business office, so.
I agree, and I have to, Vita's going to hold me to lightening up on some of the people.
Well, it's really, I've had a conversation before, I don't want to get too personal.
Yes.
But as a human being, I want you to be well.
Yeah.
And the pace, the challenges that you face, you're stretching yourself too thin.
Yes.
And so we have to just realign and make sure that we're doing what we need to do, but we're also taking care of ourselves.
And in order for me to keep my commitments, if anybody has any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them, or I'm leaving.
I was just going to say, does anybody have any?
Yes.
Again, being mindful of not looking for deadlines or being unreasonable and respecting
Yes.
boundaries here. Where are we at with fiscal year 27 budgeting? When can we expect to start looking
Okay,
at that?
good question. I did bring that to speak about that. So by Mass General Law, we have to meet certain deadlines for the regionals. So by February 21st, we have to have a budget, a preliminary budget submitted to the school committee and have a hearing.
Or which school?
For the Hampshire, for the regionals. So it's only Mass General Law only talks about the regionals. So by the 21st is the preliminary, and by the 18th is the final. And so we're getting together this Friday with the FinCom from Hampshire Regional, and we will set those dates in terms of when the school committee is going to meet and have those hearings. And so that's the situation on them. And we've already started the budget process for Southampton and the other municipalities. The very first step is to look at what the contractual obligations are. And it's made a little bit easier in some regards in that we have that negotiations template that projects out salaries for '27. And so we have to do that. And it's complicated because there isn't a signed contract yet. But we have to continue to forge forward. And so anything where there is a contractual obligation such as that, such as transportation, such as some other, your copier leases and things like that, we're collecting that data now. We're meeting, the biggest thing, although I understand it's on the Southampton books and not the school's books, but the transportation is a big nut for all of the schools, and we have one contract. And so Vito and I on the 20-something are meeting, I think it's next week sometime, are meeting with the bus people to talk about that. So I have to talk with Elisa also, but I think we're looking at like a draft in the late March timeframe. Your meeting is, when is it, when's your next school committee meeting?
Whatever the.
What's today?
Second Wednesday
It's the
in
second,
February.
so.
The 11th.
And that would be in February. That would be February.
March is also the 11th.
Yes, okay, good. So we won't have it for February 11th. It will certainly be here by March 11th. And what I think we could do, I haven't spoken to Vito about this, is if we have a draft budget, to send it to you, even if there's no school committee meeting right away, that you can start looking at it. It'll probably be between February and March. Do you think that's true?
I would say that's true, but we've also had, conversations with the town administrator, and so it's not like we're starting from zero. We're really moving in, I think, the right direction, and it's a challenge just because we're juggling the 5 balls that are the separate districts.
Right, but I mean, but the thing that has been loud and clear in every meeting with the town administrator is that even a level service budget is going to require an override.
Yes.
For all the departments, not just for us.
Yeah, not just for schools.
And, so there will be an override question in the spring. So we're going to end up in a situation, I imagine, that we're going to make a level service budget, but we may also have to come up with a less than level service budget.
And I tell you
if the override doesn't
that
pass.
sorry, that is not something I'm unfamiliar with. In each of my iterations before the 5 districts, I've had years where I've been asked to do a level service, a level funded, and then a level funded minus, if you will. In the good years, it's level service plus, but we don't often lean that way.
The level of funding for us means loss of service.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the part that I'm not clear on, because last year, and I hadn't seen it done this way before, but last year at the Southampton Annual Town Meeting, they went in with 2 budgets. Mm-hmm. They went in with one where the override, if the override passed, it would be that. And if the override didn't pass, it would be the other. And it turned out that it was the other because the override didn't pass. I don't know if that is the approach again this year. And so that's something we need to talk to the town administrator about.
It will be for all departments.
For all departments, there'll be.
Last year was just for us.
Okay.
School, but now it will be
So
for
there'll be
every
this,
single department.
and then, so what we haven't heard yet is, well, what would that, last year, they said they gave us a target number you needed to come in at.
We don't have the number yet.
You don't have that. So depending on all of that is the answer to Dylan's question, which is, we'll come up with the level service budget, and then we'll have to reduce from there based on whatever the number is that we have to meet.
Level funded minus. most
Yeah.
likely.
I suspect that at the time that we're putting the level service together, the finance committee and the select board will be able to tell us what the
What
no override number is.
Okay.
So,
And Dawn, I think it's important to say that the philosophy or the vision that, that Scott is really embracing this year is that it's about us, right? It's not about one department or one thing. It's about the town and the schools and everybody.
Well, because the lack of growth in the town affects everybody. It doesn't just affect the schools, you know, the money that's owed for cares and other things
Right.
affects everybody.
The one other thing I would say that doesn't directly affect Southampton School, but will affect Southampton, is every town is struggling in this manner. And so we have a regional budget that may or may not get passed by all the towns. And if that's the case, there'll be an iterative process for figuring out both the regional budgets as well as the school's budget. It's going to be a complicated season, there's no doubt.
And Jen had a question. I'm sorry, Jen, I kind
Yeah.
of squashed you.
Oh, that's okay. I don't even remember what I was gonna ask now, but wasn't last year, once we did it, didn't John say we were submitting our highest budget of last year already to the town as what we were going for? I know that's not like feasible, but did we really do that?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I would also say, and I know I'm not trying to generate more work from you, but I think in addition to a level services or a level funded, I would like to see a restorative budget.
Well, yeah, because after hearing that presentation of Brian,
Right.
and from a parental point of view, my kids are getting shafted hardcore because they're missing out on a STEM teacher and all those amazing projects, as well as an art teacher this year. And I know that has nothing to do with anyone in this room, but we shouldn't be pushing for just the bare minimum. Like, we need to find a way back to giving our kids the education that they deserve.
Well, the town administrator would like us to be able to restore.
I don't know if I agree with that, but that'd be great if he does.
He said it directly to me.
Well, that's great. I will
In a
believe,
meeting, in a public meeting.
I'll believe when I see it.
Dawn, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
everything done.
Drive
Oh, you're
safely.
welcome.
Thank you, Don.
And drive safely.
Thank you. Thank you for your understanding, I appreciate it.
All right,
Adios.
so we might actually all be able to go because we're not going to do an executive session.
Okay?
So, is there,
So move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned at 7:08.
Woo, it's a record.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.